Welcome back to another episode. Today's topic is your mind or mind, right? So, if you've heard mindset, you've heard mindset being the interaction between emotions and your mind. Your mind being brakes if they were in a car, and your emotions being that gas pedal, right? So, we're going to focus today on the mind. And when we focus on the mind, what we find is it represents your intellectual ability. So, that's essentially your ability to, let's say, think through problems, right? And what's so powerful about it is the true power of your mind is in your imagination. We'll call it like an imagination engine, right? So let's say that that's the engine that, gets everything actually moving along. But in order for it to actually work properly, it's got to actually have a bridge between the real world and your imagination. And that that might be, let's say, the cables or sort of the drive-by-wire interface that's between, let's say, your engine and the driver, right? So when you consider the true power of your mind, the power itself is in that imagination engine, but the potential for that engine to really hit its peak potential is being able to make sure that it can have a very fine-tuned interface to allow everything that you're doing with your character, the driver's wheel, and that actually translates to the performance to the engine itself. If you have any disconnects, that's where you have issues where all of a sudden the car is not getting all the power that maybe you're trying to give to the engine, or vice versa. Maybe the engine's kind of going all off the rails and everything, and it's not doing what you're asking it to do. So your mind again has that power. It has that potential, but believe it or not, it also has an innocence, and the innocence is really the big deal that your mind actually doesn't know the difference between the real world and your imagination. It has absolutely no clue that there's a difference between the two. It works the same way in either environment. And so why that's so powerful is with that innocence, there's really nothing stopping it, right? There's no like there's nothing really holding it back, except your beliefs and your emotions. Those are the only thing that kind of like hold your mind in check. But outside of that, it's innocent. So whatever problem you decide you need to solve with your mind, it's going to do it, and it's going to have no holes barred when it does. Now, the mind itself, it does not, let's say, get restricted by the real world itself. But since the real world is what creates your beliefs and what has your emotions within it, that's what kind of holds that mind back. So that's why, again, the both have to operate in tandem for everything to work efficiently and properly. Now, when you consider your mind and you consider, let's say, school, your academic ability, like that's not really what your mind's actually designed to do. Some folks may have a natural affinity to do well in school. Some folks may not. But your mind, it doesn't really factor in whether you have like a strong mind or a weak mind based on what you do academically. Everyone's mind's supremely or super powerful, right? You just have to figure out what's the right environment that your mind can actually work freely and do what it actually can do. And so if you're asked me, what does your mind really represent? You talked about all this power, you talked about all the potential. Well, your mind has the ability to be your greatest superpower or your greatest curse, right? So you probably haven't heard the curse part, right? Just in regards to, it's like holding you back or it's pushing you forward. That's what I mean by curse. But in the right environment, your mind can do anything. In the wrong environment, your mind can do anything. So if you really think about that, if you're in the right environment, you can get really good at doing the right things, and your mind can do anything. So you can just keep progressing forward and moving along. But in the wrong environment, your mind's also getting really good at doing the wrong things. And so you might be catapulting and moving forward, not recognizing that what you're doing is not actually getting you to where you want to be in your goals. And that's the tough thing there, right? Because folks don't really think about that. They hear about all the power that the mind has, but if you're not in the right environment, your mind might actually be working against you, right? And you don't want that. So when you think about your mind, you need to consider it needs to be as precious as children if you have them, or again, whatever it is you have that you actually value within your life. And the reason that's important, you want to take care of your mind the same way you were to take care of a child. Why? Because if your mind has power, potential, and innocence, again, you got to protect that innocence, just as you would for your children. And in regards to being in the right environment, if you want to hit the best potential, you need to be in the right environment. right? So, if you have a high performance vehicle and you have tires that are designed for the street and all of a sudden you go off road, you're not going to be doing very well because you don't have the right equipment, right? So you want to make sure that your mind and everything is in the right environment to allow it to serve you best. And last but not least, you want to unleash it, right? You don't want to kind of like hold everything back. If you have all this power that's in your mind, why would you hold it back? It can do so much for you. You can think through so many different challenges and problems and everything else. But if you restrict it and you hold it back, you're not going to get there. So you want to put it in an environment where it can just be unleashed and it can just be set off, on this world. So why, do I talk about mind? Well, mind and mindset kind of go hand in hand. And I probably learned most of my life from investing in myself. When I stopped just taking in everything that people were feeding me as far as information, as far as what I should do and everything, and I actually started learning about myself, that's when I started creating the biggest change. I started to learn about myself and what I actually can do. And that's super powerful. A lot of folks in this world, unfortunately, don't know what they actually can do, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. And that's a detriment. If you're getting good at the wrong things, you're not doing what you were meant to do. You're not doing what's in your area of strength. So you need to find those things out. And once you do, that's when you can essentially redirect where your energy is actually going and then make sure that you're putting yourself and your mind in the right environment. The other part of it is I stopped doing what everyone else was doing or what they were telling me to do, right? And the reason for that was because I'm an individual. My path in life is not necessarily the same as everyone else's. So I had to make sure that actually aligned for me and what my goals actually were. And then I recognized that I can only be the best version of myself if I was myself. How am I going to be the best version of myself if I'm listening to somebody else, right? Now, coaches and mentors, like that is definitely going to fall in line because as long as I have my goals set, there are people going to help me along the way. But if they don't have my particular goals and destination in mind, I'm not going to end up where I actually need to be. And that's going to detract from everything. So people will have an impact, will have an ability to help you on your journey. You just have to recognize where you're going first, and then allow other folks to help you get there. So I'm gonna leave you with this. When you make the rules, you're playing your own game. And that's incredibly important, especially when your mind's concerned. Because if your mind doesn't really like the rules, if you're making up the rules and you allow your mind to kind of guide you in what those rules are actually going to be, you're going to be a lot more powerful. You're going to essentially just take off. So I hope you enjoy this lesson about your mind. It is one of the most powerful things that is out there, most powerful aspect of your arsenal. But if you're not in the right environment, it can hold you back the same way it can push you forward. So make sure you're investing in yourself. Make sure you're investing in your mind. I hope this message rings true to you. And I hope you tune in to the next lesson. All right. Catch you later.